All right, so we are just going to carry on and do text. So obviously text is one of the things that's the content, and we can change some things about them. So right off the bat, we can do text and we can do background color. I kind of already did that earlier, but we'll just do it now. So I'm just going to take what I already had from before and just kind of add some stuff to it. So so we'll just, I guess on the second one, I'm just going to add a we'll change the text color. So I'll do text. Sorry. Actually, it's just color. I don't know why I was writing text color. Color. And then you'll see that it has all these. Basically, there are a couple. I should probably mention this first. There's a couple of ways to define color inside of the HTML. Okay. So one is you can just use predefined colors like 147 predefined colors like red and green and blue and a bunch of other ones. And you probably already saw, color, right? And then it has all these. And so these are all the predefined ones. And you can look at them and go, ooh, don't use these though, generally. The best way to define color is going to be one of these two ways, either Rgb values, hex code, or HSLA. Okay, so the Rgb values, basically it's red, green, blue. So if I do Rgb 100, 100, 100, it's out of 256. So basically 100 would be kind of a darkish gray, not like dark gray, because that would be red, green, blue. So that'd be in the middle. But if I had 256, 0, 0, that would be pure red. Okay. And so on and so forth. So that's one way of doing it. And you would write it like this, RGB, like that. Okay. Another way is use the hex codes, which the only way to really, you can look at them and read them. I forget exactly how it works. But basically it's a 6-digit code that starts with this, and then you would type that in color, and then it would be this. Another way is HSLA, so it stands for Hue Saturation Lightness. So hue is in the color wheel from 0 to 360. All right, and then saturation is how much of that color. Lightness is obviously light to dark value, so 0 would be dark, 50 would be, or 100 would be bright. Alpha, which is transparency, so it would look something like that. This is how you would define it. That should be lowercase. Bad by me. Okay, so you might be like, well, how do I know what color to put in there? Well, you can, if you're using this, you can actually start to type it in there. So color, and then I could do, let's say, HSLA right here. See, I can click on that. Yeah, that doesn't really work for me. Let me do this. Actually, I like this way, R, and then if you do RGB, that's not really doing it either. All right, let's not do it that way. I thought there was a better way of doing it, but this is what I would do. If you go on here, W3 Schools has this cool little color picker, so I'm going to click on that. And what you can do is I can click any one of these, and it will give me the hex code, the RGB, and the HSL, Hue Saturation Lightness. These are just the different ways that you could do it. Or if you click on this little guy here, it'll bring up this nice little color wheel thing, and then I could find the color I want. So let's say I want to do like this orange, okay? And actually, yeah, that's what I want. I'll hit OK, and then I can see it right here. And all I got to do is I'll just grab this one. I'll just grab the HSL or the hex code. I'll just click and drag over it. Control C, go back here, color, and then Control V to paste it, semicolon. And now the text will be that color. Okay. So it's just color and then the name. But you could, any one of those will work. So I'm just going to show you. So if I do Control R, you can see that now it's that ugly color. Okay. The other thing you do is obviously background color. So let's just go ahead and do background color. Background color. And then let's see, RGBA. Well, see, that doesn't really. Color space. I swear it had like a color picker before. Well, anyway, I'll just go over here and I'll just say, I did this orangey color, so I'll do kind of a bluish, and then I'll just, grab, we'll say that color. Okay. And this time I'll just use this one, just so you get the idea that you can use multiple ones. So I'll just copy that. and I will just Control V to paste, and voila, Control S, and then, oh, not this one, sorry, this one, Control R to refresh. You can see that will become the background color, okay? So those are a couple of options as well. So you can define the color using that color picker. Once you do, actually, that's why I was thinking it. Once you do have that, if you hover over, I think it would, it's not doing it. That's weird. Okay. So you can define it that way. Yeah, so color will basically be your text color, and background color will be the background color of the content, okay? If you want to do the entire thing background color, like white's kind of ugly, you can actually go through and just do it right to the body. So I'll go to body and do style, and then I'll just do background color, and I'm just going to do gray like that, and then you can see when I go to refresh it, now that will be the background color. So I would suggest putting some sort of background color beyond white, because white's kind of not that great. Okay, so let's go back over here. Next we have font family and font size. So font family basically is how you determine the type of font that you want to use. So you write font family, and then you write the thing here. Now you're going to notice in this example I have the style font family, then I say times New Roman times serif. Now the reason why there's 3 of them is because it goes by specificity. So you're kind of at the mercy of whether that computer, whoever is on your site, has that font. So the idea here is that a Times New Roman is a very specific font, and it says, okay, if they have that one, use that. But if they don't have that, what they'll do is they'll use the next one over, which is Times, which is more of a more general thing, right? That's a type of font, but there's a bunch of ones underneath it. So like Times New Roman is a type of Times. And then if they don't have Times, then you'll just use serif, which is super generic, one type of font. So basically you go broad to specific. If you only put one in, it'll just look for the one. So that's something you can do. So I could do, let's do it to my title here. So I'll just go style, font, family. And then you can see, because it's in here, I actually have options. So we'll do this one. Okay. Okay. So it added all of this for me. Notice that's pretty cool, because what it does is it goes from the most specific to broader, 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 until basically it goes to Arial, and then lastly sans serif. Okay. And now if I save this and I open it up, Control R, you can see that now this is a different font. Okay. Now there's not a ton of options with this. I'm going to show you another way to do this later on. But for right now, this is basically the best that you have. Okay. You can also determine the font size by doing font size. So I can do directly by pixels. So for instance, even though this is an H1, I could actually in here do font dash size and only make it, let's say, well, 12 pixels. And then you'll see, oops, Control Z. I don't know what I just did. I think I closed it out. Open recent. Where are you? This one. View, toggle word wrap. There we go. Do font size. I'm just going to save it. And we'll open up here, Control R. And now you can see it's actually small, even though it's an H1. So I can change the size of whatever I want. Okay, so that's font size. Font alignment. So you might want text align, text indent. I don't really use vertical align or the other one, but text align is useful. So I might want you know, these to be left align or right align. So I could just do text align, and then I'm going to go ahead and do right. So text align right, and then if I open this up, Control R, you'll see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's text aligned to the right now. Probably a little bit more obvious when, there you go. See how you can see this is kind of a clean edge? Cool. How it's sort of a clean edge, and then you have what we call the rag on this side. All right, because it's a ragged edge, but it keeps this straight. All right, so you can do left align, right align, center align, and justified, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about those other ones. There's also leading and spacing. So if you want to have more line height, just more space between each line, you can do that. If you want more space between the letters or you want more space between the words, you can do that as well. All right. And you can also add, if you want to make it thicker, you can do font weight. So you can do normal or bold. So you can see like here we just did bold. Obviously you could also just wrap this in a strong, and that would be the same thing. Font style, so you can make it italic. But again, you could just do an emphasis depending on what you're trying to do. Transform will take all the letters and capitalize them. And text decoration will underline or overline or do none. So you might be like, well, why is there none? So a lot of these have normal or none. I'll give you an example. So if we were to look at the site here, I have this link, right? See how it's underlined? That's what they do by default. I can actually go over here and on my href, go ahead and put a style and do text decoration and do, I don't know why that's coming up, do none, like that. And then when I open this up, Control R, you can see it got rid of the underline. So it's really useful for that. We'll actually be using that later, but that's why that's there. But if you do need to emphasize something, you want to underline a specific element, you can do that as well. All right. Let's go back to this guy, and good. All right. So, and then last we're going to do is basically your assignment, and the assignment is going to be part 2 of the biography. What I want you to do is update the HTML, so add any more content that you need in order to make it nicer looking. Don't do what I did. I'm not looking for lorem ipsum. If I see lorem ipsum, I'm going to be annoyed. You got to actually write stuff. Only I get to cheat. So you want to update that. You want to make sure the basic document structure is correct. You're going to have, you know, your HTML, you're going to have images attached correctly. You're going to have links produced functionally, and you're going to update your content. Your CSS, you're going to add rules to control the text, add rules to control the images, and add rules to control the boxes of the content, and then just generally the aesthetics. And then down here is a video tutorial where I kind of make one. So if you want to use, this is kind of a, you know, you can follow along with this if you need to in order to complete it. All right. So that is basically the class. All right. Good luck.